Malacanang Press Corps. Good morning. The Department of Health is announcing the soft opening of our drug rehabilitation center inside the military camp in Fort Magsaysay in Laur, Nueva Ecija. The facility has been partially finished by October 17, that was yesterday, and our personnel who were hired for that facility, about 1,000 of them, are now actually viewing the facility and having a dry run on how to manage the patients that will be referred to that facility come November. Our opening of the Mega Drug Treatment and Rehabilitation Center in Nueva Ecija is expected to be sometime November. The construction of this Mega Rehab Center began soon after my visit to Beijing in September this year, wherein we signed a deed of donation with our very generous donor, a businessman from China. Mr. Wang Rulun is a donor of a total of 10,000 square meters at 10,000 patients capacity rehabilitation center, or 100,000 square meters. And 2,500 beds facility will now be turned over yesterday, October 17, and the remainder 7,500 bed capacity will be turned over by November 16, 2016. 6 weeks after the foundation were laid, the building structures gradually took shape, and now almost 50% of the facility has been constructed. The right wing of the building, which can accommodate almost 1,000 patients and offices, are now ready to be furnished. And as of this press briefing, we already have a donor for the furnitures for this facility. Not the businessman, but a local private corporation from the Philippines. Construction of the left wing of the building and the female dormitory is underway. And our donor, Mr. Wang, is a philanthropist who is listed in the Hurun philanthropy list for 13 consecutive years in China. He is the second on the latest list behind Alibaba Group Holdings, with total donations of more than $97 million last year, mainly for the construction of 3 high schools. He is a privately held real estate developer and has investments in 20 five-star hotels and 10 shopping malls, all in China. The regional office in Region 3, that's San Fernando, Pampanga, is actually the one in charge in recruitment of our human resources for this facility. And they have recruited about 1,000 job order staff for the moment, but come January, we have a budget for plantilla items for these individuals that were hired. And we estimate that 1 to 2% of the drug surrenderers need residential drug rehabilitation or inpatient care. The rest will be referred either to a community-based program or an outpatient rehabilitation program. So there are 3 tracks for our drug surrenderers. And the Department of Health is now working with local government units to actually train the frontline doctors and health professionals so that we can provide the community-based program as well as the outpatient rehabilitation program. Our goal right now is to establish 2 more mega treatment and rehabilitation, 1 more mega treatment and rehabilitation center in Luzon, another in Visayas, and another in Mindanao. The budget for the human resources needed for these facilities are already included in our 2017 budget proposal. We are working with local government units, particularly barangays and municipal and city officials that will handle the community-based rehabilitation program, where an estimated over 95% to 98% of the surrenderers will be having this program. This is in collaboration with non-government organizations, interfaith groups, and volunteers. So that's the current situation. And all these programs of the DOH are actually included in the 2017 budget. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Health Secretary Pauline Jean Ubial. The floor is now open for questions regarding the drug rehabilitation efforts. Dexter Ganibe of DZMM.
Secretary, good morning.
Good morning.
You mentioned na ang kaya lang i-accommodate dito sa mga itatayong rehab center ay 1% dun sa, tama po ba 1%?
Yes, 1 to 2%.
1 to 2% dun sa kabuuan ng mga sumuko, ng mga umamin, ng mga drug users. Paano po ang siste na matukoy na sila ay kasama dun sa 1%?
At the moment, we have trained over 1,000 doctors of the local government units, and we are accrediting them as the parang addiction medicine or the frontline health workers for assessment of drug dependence. So sila po yung mag-a-assess using a tool that we have prepared whether these drug surrenderers are actually qualified for an inpatient treatment and rehabilitation program or an outpatient and community-based.
May nabuo na po ba ang DOH na tutukoy para dun sa, magse-separate dun sa mga kailangang ma-inpatient?
Yes.
And what are the considerations or batayan?
Yung training, the training of frontline health workers are ongoing. But so far, in the last 3 months, we have trained over 1,000. And the qualifications is actually history of drug use, kung madalas ba silang gumagamit, and also we're testing them for blood and urine presence of the illicit drugs in their blood and urine. So yung mga nag-positive sa screening, yun ang i-commit natin for the inpatient treatment.
Last na lang po. Sakali pong hindi pumayag ang isang na-assess na mag-inpatient, ano po ang patakaran ng DOH po dito?
Then he will have to be committed to the regional trial court wherein the judicial system will decide whether he or she is qualified for the inpatient. Kasi yung usual natin is that it's the court that determines that they be committed to an inpatient treatment and rehabilitation facilities. But because of the current large number of surrenderers, we have actually we do away with the court order. So we base our commitment to inpatient care based on the assessment of trained doctors.
Last na lang po. Paano naman po dun sa mga hindi mapabilang dun sa 1% pero yung pamilya niya ay gusto niyang maipasok dun sa rehabilitation center ng pamahalaan, yung kanilang kapamilya?
At the moment, for those who volunteer to be inpatients, hindi po natin sila matatanggap sa ating mga treatment and rehab centers. But we refer them to private treatment and rehab centers because they are voluntarily or committing their their family members to these treatment and rehab centers. And I think that's also they pay for the accommodation of the patients in the private treatment and rehab centers. So yung sa government lang, yung na-assess natin that need inpatient care.
All right. Benji Liwanag of DZBB, Tina, and then Hannah Jane.
Good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, we're talking about 1%. 1% of how many? Ilan na po ba yung nag-surrender?
As of the moment, we have 790,000 surrenderers. Okay, so 1% of that is around 7,900.
Okay. Ma'am, yung assessment or classification of these people, sabi ninyo will go to court. Now, paano to, ma'am? Yung pupunta sa Nueva Ecija will be classified from Region 3 alone or it will be nationwide also? Because our idea for the treatment and rehabilitation of our drug surrenderers is that there has to be a strong component of family support and community support. So we really want them to be inpatients in an area where they can be visited by their relatives and friends. So yung sa Nueva Ecija, our plan there is to actually decongest the Bikutan treatment and rehab facility because that facility is designed for 550, but right now we have over 1,200 patients in that facility. So we intend to move some of the patients from Bikutan as well as the nearby treatment and rehab facilities like Tagaytay and also Bataan na medyo overcrowded na to the Nueva Ecija facility. But all of them will be on voluntary basis. So kakausapin nung ating mga rehab workers, particularly the doctors and health professionals, if they are willing to be moved, then we will move them to Nueva Ecija. Pag hindi naman, then we cannot move them and they will have to stay where they are. Will they shoulder any amount sa paglipat sa kanila, ma'am?
Hindi, walang at no
Everything.
cost to the patients. And we're actually reviewing also for the families to actually visit the facility. Maghahanap kami ng bus services from Bikutan or from Tagaytay to bring them to Nueva Ecija on a one day per week basis so that their families can visit them.
Ma'am, on the 1,000 medical workers, paano yun? How would you divide it into weeks or those 1,000 will be there to supervise and to help this rehabilitation center?
Yes, actually they're already on board. They're hired. And we're in the process of training them. And then aside from the new hire, the 1,000 new hire, we're also identifying people from the Bikutan TRC, about 100 of them, and Tagaytay TRC, about 50, and another 50 from Bataan TRC to help in the operationalization of the Nueva Ecija Treatment and Rehab Center. So we're mixing the old personnel with the new personnel so that immediately the facility is already up and running.
Yeah, ma'am. Sa kabuuan po, magkano yung ballpark figure that nagagamitin ng Department of Health dito sa Mega Rehabilitation Center, ma'am?
As of the moment, we don't have the budget in our current budget. So we're actually using our quick response fund, which is used for any eventuality or emergency or unplanned, unforeseen eventuality in the health sector. So we're using that, and we have suballotted 130 million to the existing treatment and rehab centers so that they can expand their capacity to double their original capacity. And then to Region 3, we've suballotted around 15 million to hire the new employees. So we're looking at a possibility that by 2017, the budget will already be included in our General Appropriations Act.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Tina Mendez.
Mama, sa follow-up, dun sa 719 surrenderies, ano yung classification, ilan yung statistics po nung pupunta lang sa community-based programs and yung mga inpatients, tapos kung nandun sila, paano sila fina-follow up ng government?
Yung statistics natin, we calculate that 1 to 2% will be inpatients. So that's that's 790,000. No? So about 7,900 to around 15,000 for inpatients. So the current capacity of our existing treatment and rehab centers, there's about 13 of them, is 5,300 inpatients. So we've actually expanded the existing so that they can double the number of inpatients that they can admit. And for the new treatment and rehab centers, we're expecting the one in Nueva Ecija to initially open to 2,500. But they are ready to be expanded to 10,000. So the reason why we're not operationalizing the 10,000, kasi based on our experience in the current situation, yung Operation Tokhang, less than 500 lang yung nadagdag sa current capacities namin. So from about 3,000 inpatients in our 13 facilities, mga 3,500 lang ang nadagdag in the span of the last 3 months. So yung projection namin na mag-double, hindi nangyari. And the Nueva Ecija facility, we're ready to open the 2,500. But if very few will be assessed needing inpatient care, then we will not open the rest of the facility.
Sir, ma'am, I'm referring to how about the other drug dependents, yung less than, yung remaining a little less than 700,000. How is the DOH going to monitor them, considering a portion will be recommended for community-based programs, and as you said, the others will be allowed to go home? How is the DOH going to monitor this?
Yes, the community-based program will be run by the local government units. So that's the barangays as well as the municipal. And then we're training now the frontline health workers, that is the municipal health officers and the nurses at the local level to actually manage the community-based rehabilitation program. And we've had a lot of commitment from interfaith groups, from NGOs to actually assist in the community-based program. So we have devised, shall we say, monitoring tool so that every week we know exactly where the surrenderers are. So this will be running by this monitoring system and reporting system will be running by the end of October. So we will have a weekly report from all facilities nationwide on the community-based program.
Ma'am, one more thing. On the budget, you mentioned you tapped the Quick Response Fund under the DOH.
Yes.
I understand, if I remember it right, it's for emergencies related maybe to typhoons, and other emergencies. How did you justify this one?
That's just part of the use of the fund. But the fund is actually used for any public health emergency. And the surrenderers that we have now is considered a public health emergency.
Under what classification or under what law?
It's a mental health problem.
So it's classified
Yes.
as an emergency.
Yes. Because there's an increase in the number of cases. So it's more or less considered a public health emergency. Increase in the number of cases for a particular disease.
Did it help, ma'am, that the president also issued an executive order?
Yes. Because we don't know where to get the funds if it were assigned to us and that's a mandate of the Department of Health. We didn't have it as a line item in our budget. It was only the quick response fund that we are actually utilizing.
I was just asking kasi baka it's considered juggling of funds.
No, it's not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, last two questions. Hannah?
Ma'am,
And
follow-up
then
dun sa funds, sa QRF. Sakali magkaroon tayo ng emergency, ma'am, may natitira pa tayong funds sa
We
QRF.
can request from NDRRMC. Yes.
Pero ibig sabihin yung QRF na alat natin lahat?
No.
Okay.
We have remaining funds for the remaining part of the year. We
How much-
actually allocated. for
How
that.
much pa yung remaining na lang po ng QRF, ma'am?
The total QRF allotted in the GAA for the Department of Health is 500 million. And we have sub-allotted around 130 million. So there's about 200 million remaining.
Alright. Ma'am, dun sa community base, ang DOH pa rin na mag-oversee kung maging successful yung ginagawa ng mga LGUs para tiyakin na yung mga activities or gagawin nila with the surrenderies na hindi talaga sila babalik sa droga. Ang DOH pa yung mag-check nun.
Yes. Actually, we developed the training modules. We capacitate the LGU and we monitor their activities and success rate. So the Department of Health really works with the LGU because our health system is devolved to the local government.
Last question ko na lang, ma'am, yung regarding po dun sa, sorry, nakalimutan ko bigla. Yung regarding po dun sa mga patients po, di ba sabi niya yung court ang magsasabi kung dapat sila ang ipapasok sa rehab to. Ka-clarify ko lang po, may babayaran po ba sila?
Yes.
Or libre la? Yes, ma'am.
The patients are assessed. So all our rehab and treatment facilities have social workers who are trained like the hospital social workers to classify the patients. So all patients in the treatment and rehab centers are classified according to their capacity to pay, and then they are assessed or they are asked to pay according to their capacity. So some of them are actually free, and government is providing for their accommodation and meals, while others are also asked to pay.
So, depende po sa capacity ng tao to pay. So, libre yung wala talaga.
Yes.
Tapos, may konting fee yung may kaya.
Yes. And now we also have PhilHealth covering the 2 weeks detoxification treatment of all our treatment and rehab center patients. So it's covered under PhilHealth starting October.
Ma'am,
Okay.
balikan ko lang, yung rehabilitation, ilang buwan po ito or taon?
The average, shall we say, the range is between 6 months to 12 months. But some patients go beyond 12 months. So they are assessed on a case-to-case basis.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Rose of UNTV.
Good morning, ma'am. Nabanggit niyo po kanina yung iba pang 3 mega drug rehabilitation centers na ibibuild. Na-determine na po natin kung ano-anong military reservation, and karamihan po ba dito ay through deed of donation din? Kasi last week may na-mention po yung Chinese ambassador na may 120,000 square meters din po na for donation po ng isang Chinese businessman.
Yes, the upcoming projects for the mega treatment and rehab centers will be inside military camps also. We've identified the camps, but as of now, we have not had firmed up commitment from the donors. So wala pa pong construction other than the one in the Fort Magsaysay area. So marami pa pong indications from other donors, particularly rin mga local businessmen. But as of now, wala pang other constructions that are ongoing.
Okay, last question from Dexter.
Secretary, clarification lang. Pag sinabi nating soft opening, nagtatanggap na po ba ng mga patients?
No, ang soft opening is just to have the employees and the health workers go through the entire facility so that they can map out the
So kailan pong
situation.
tatanggap ng unang pasyente?
The patients will be transferred by November. That will be the
Mid-November.
main opening.
Mid-November.
Mid-November, yes. We will invite you there.
Okay, thank you very much, Health Secretary Pauline Jean Ubial. Okay, we'll have another set of question and answer with Asec.Marie Banaag. Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Secretary. Paborito ka namin dito sa briefing room. I'd like to give updates on 3 points. On the Brunei trip of the President. It is said that during the Brunei trip, both governments, the Philippine government and Brunei, have agreed to deepen cooperation in various areas of development, such as trade and investment, maritime security, achieving lasting peace in Mindanao, and building a stronger Southeast Asian nations in the light of the holding of the ASEAN 2017. And of course, the postponement of the barangay elections, according to Executive Secretary Medialdea, it was already signed by the President, but he just have to wait for the courier, the aircraft that would bring home the signed law and for proper transmittal to the proper offices. And the third point, as to the Marcos burial, the President is so clear about him respecting the decision of the Supreme Court on that matter. Sweden will entertain around 3 questions.
Dexter.
Clarification, Asec.
Dexter.
The postponement of barangay elections was signed in Brunei or in Davao?
It was not said as to whether it was signed in Davao or Brunei, but we Executive Secretary Medialdea is awaiting the parcel for proper transmittal. So we'll wait today para matransmit po yan sa proper channels, official proper channels.
Microphone, please, Tina.
Ma'am, how was the EO sent? Private package, government to government? How? Can it not just be fax? Sent through fax?
That too I cannot comment because
LPC, FedEx?
no, perhaps not.
Perhaps
Not.
not.
Yes. I'd rather not comment because I don't know how it reached the President, but definitely it should come today.
So let's clarify, the President had with him the draft copy while he was on his way to Brunei.
That too, the details of that too, whether he was holding it before he left or whether it was brought to him by other delegation to Brunei, that of course we don't have any details on
We'd
that.
also be interested, ma'am, if it was signed while en route to Brunei.
Maybe not.
Thank you.
Any more question? Leila?
Ma'am, on the Supreme Court case, does the palace have a tentative schedule on when the burial will happen in case the Supreme Court allows it?
Well, so far there are no official pronouncements as to the exact date yet on the Marcos burial. No exact date yet.
But are there any tentative preparations in case
So far, wala pa because we don't want to preempt the decision of the Supreme Court. We don't know, of course, the decision of the Supreme Court, so we'll wait for the decision of the Supreme Court.
Okay, follow-up question, Dexter?
Phone-in question.
Phone-in talaga.
Yeah. Question po, may we get your reaction na papayagan ni President Duterte ang joint war games sa Russia and China and Philippine forces? Can you have your reaction?
Russia and China. So
Yeah,
far,
war
wala
games.
pang official statement si Presidente as to kung papayagan niya o hindi. We will wait for further announcement. Sorry?
Yeah, it was mentioned in one of his interview.
If he's interested. If the President is interested and the official diplomatic communications will be pushed through, then I guess the DFA would be the right department to comment on that. And of course, the Department of National Defense.
Any more questions? Hannah?
Palace comment dun sa Pulse Asia survey na mas prefer ng mga ng taong bayan na tutukan ng pamahalaan yung more jobs para sa at saka yung wage hike at saka dagdag trabaho para sa mga Pilipino.
Lahat naman tututukan at the same time kung pwede lang. Kaya wala namang mas mabigat or ito isasantabi natin. So with the Pulse Asia survey, the government would acknowledge kung ano man yung pulso ng bayan as to it. Kasi nga the President is concerned mas malasakit at pagbabago ang gusto natin. So, mas maraming maaapektuhan pag we would acknowledge kung saan man nanggagaling yung Pulse Asia survey.
Okay, any more questions for Asec.Marie? Okay, Vance Fernandez. Last question.
Okay, Vance.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. Last time, President Duterte revealed that NDF, political arm of the CPB, had insisted on the withdrawal of U.S. and cancellation of joint military troops exercises as a condition for peace. Would the President rather believe the communists than a former President FBR? Any reaction on this?
Is that a comment of FBR?
Yes.
Last Saturday in his column. We would not preempt, but we acknowledge lahat ng comments po ni former President Fidel Ramos. And of course, his presence and his being with the team, we acknowledge lahat ng opinions po niya on this matter. It is not a matter of choosing between sino ba ang mas matimbang. But we will acknowledge lahat po ng constructive na opinions ni FBR po on that matter.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much, Asec.
Maraming salamat po. Sweden, maraming salamat sa ating lahat.
Thank you also to our guest speaker for today, Health Secretary Pauline Ubial, together with Usec Tayag. Thank you, friends from the media. Back to the main studio of PTV4 and Radyo ng Bayan.